let's get on with some TYT bashing, shall we? I've put this on 1.25 speed, so if anyone wonders why they seem to be talking fast, but it's conserved time, frankly.
A dreamer who had been in the country since he was 3 years old had chosen to be deported rather than forced to be deported after he had some minor convictions for misdemeanors involving driving under the influence.
So a drunk driver then, who shouldn't have been in the country. He should have been deported back to Mexico. So what you're saying is that ICE did nothing wrong. Okay, good on you, Anna. I'm with you on so far. Let's go.
Now, unfortunately, shortly after he left the country and went back to Mexico, he was murdered.
Wow, Mexico sounds like a terrible place. It's almost like it's a shithole and we should build a wall.
And some believe that he was murdered by cartels because of the drug violence in Mexico.
All the more reason to build a fucking wall. Holy shit. I didn't realize that Anna was suddenly a staunch Trump supporter.
Manuel Antonio Ano Pacheco was scheduled to graduate from high school last month, but died just after being deported by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
And this is somehow ICE's fault, isn't it? It's ICE's fault that he came to America illegally, stayed illegally, broke a law, and then got deported to a country that is filled with gang violence because the state in America is exceptionally weak. It's ICE's fault that this is the case, isn't it?
So let me just explain how this all happened. He had been in the country since he was 3 years old. He had protection as a dreamer. However, after he was caught, I don't know if he was drinking, but he was driving under the influence, a judge had decided to take that protection away from him, and he had an option. He could either be forced to leave the country, regular deportation, or he could agree on his own, volunteer to leave the country. And the reason why he chose that option is because he would have the ability to come back as a visitor in the future.
See, that's really generous, because if I break a law in my country, I don't get the option of just leaving. It's like, would you like to go to jail or would you like to leave? It's like, well, I'd like to leave and at least enjoy my liberty in a different country. No. For me, I have to go to jail. So the fact that he has this choice, that's very nice, isn't it? But yeah, he went back because he started committing crimes and...
Now, unfortunately, again, after he left, shortly after he was murdered, according to reports, his throat was slit.
That's fucking tragic. What? Jesus fucking Christ. I'm sorry to hear it. You know, nobody wants anyone to be killed. Normally, deporting someone back to their country of origin isn't a death sentence, but I guess not all countries are created equal.
That was the way that he was murdered. He had a 1-year-old child here in the United States.
Fucking tragic. Not that he has a 1-year-old child, that he's dead and has a child. That's fucking tragic.
And apparently he had a full scholarship to a college. So he was battling with depression based on what his family is.
How does an illegal immigrant get a scholarship? I just can't understand how this happens. You would think that the fact that they're an illegal immigrant would preclude them from things like scholarships and state assistance and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it's not... I mean, do they pay tax? How can they pay tax? Although I did hear that apparently they're encouraged to steal other people's tax info or something like that so they can pay tax. It's like, yeah, I'm sure that a lot of them are doing that. Isn't that just another fucking crime anyway? I mean, holy shit.
Is telling reporters his father had been imprisoned for drug use, and that kind of led to a downward spiral in his own personal life, and unfortunately it ended in a very tragic way.
Okay, that is tragic, but I mean, they don't seem to be a law-abiding family. I know you might feel, oh, that's a sweeping generalization. It's like, not really. The reason I say this is because his father was in prison for drug use, which again, I don't agree with prison for drug use, but I mean, like, I went to New York and someone said, I've got some weed, would you like some weed? And I said no, because I didn't know what the laws in New York were about weed. I'm not going to sit there, I'm not going to come to another country and start randomly breaking laws, just in case. You know, I might not get caught, yeah, but what if I do get caught? I'm pretty fucked, aren't I? Same with drink driving and entering a country illegally. I'm not going to do these things, it's pretty mad. But anyway, go on.
So when you say when it is said in reports that he chose to leave, to be deported, the choice was between you have to leave and you have to leave, but you can come back.
Yeah, okay. That's better than giving him no choice at all, which they could have done, which is just get out, you criminal.
Right. So that was not the choice to say, you know what, it seems like it's my decision to do this. No, that was the version of the punishment of you had a DUI, you need to go, that he chose, because obviously he would choose that between that and the alternative. But when you bring up depression, we're just talking about mental illness. A dreamer doesn't get to have depression in the eyes of a conservative media.
Oh, now he's the victim of him driving drunk. Is he? He's the victim of not getting a citizenship? Is that... How is he the victim? And he's the victim of having to live in Mexico, I suppose.
He doesn't get to.
Right.
He is a criminal. He is paid.
Only in as much as he broke the laws, dude. Knowingly, willfully.
As such, and he is treated as such. And you need look no further than the Brock Turner case. Was his name? The Stanford swimmer.
Right. Yeah.
He was going through some stuff. It might have a negative effect on him.
What?
So we will go easy on him because he's a swimmer from Stanford.
Is this the guy who raped a girl behind a dumpster or something? How the fuck is that relevant?
That is the disparity that is so clear, so prevalent in stories like this, and it's utterly unjust.
I just want to quickly.
Deporting illegal immigrants who have committed crimes is utterly unjust. Really? Right, okay. I assume that what you think is that they can't be expected not to be illegal immigrants and commit crimes? Is it just beyond their capacity as inferior brown people from Mexico? Mr. White Man?
Remind people who might have forgotten about that story. He was caught raping someone who was unconscious behind a dumpster.
Yeah.
And the judge was incredibly lenient, gave him a 6-month sentence, 3 of which he actually served.
Judge got
Yeah, it's upper class privilege for you.
recalled.
He did get recalled, which was some good news this week.
And you know what? And to tie those two things in together, if you
There's no fucking connection between these two things. You can't tie them together.
don't think that those local elections matter. When it comes to these cases, this kind of stuff, these judges, the people who are in office that affect you locally, that's when you really have to use your power to get those people out.
I love that her Twitter handle is Funny Ada. I love that she has to tell people that she's funny.
Like that judge is gone. The DA in Florida that was associated with the Trayvon Martin case, gone, because the people in the community chose to go out and vote. Quite honestly, I'm an anchor baby. My father is an immigrant that has been deported 3 times back to the Dominican Republic. He's
Fucking. Should we be calling ICE on you? Holy shit.
not in the United States. When I think about these stories, I think about the privilege that I had to be born here, because he was only 3. So it's not like he came here 6 months ago. But the
That's fair, to be fair.
demonization of immigrants. I know those Bush girls were drunk and doing drugs and alcohol, and people, stigmatize these young people. I'm just so tired of the war on people who look like me.
Holy fuck, maybe you should just come to the country legally then. Like, just stop coming illegally. If you can get here legally, which into the United States legally, which I'm pretty sure that a lot of people fucking manage, why the fuck don't you just do that? Don't complain that when you've been caught as lawbreakers in a country that you're treated as lawbreakers. I mean, this is some kind of indictment of the legal system of Latin America, isn't it? It's like, yeah, I know I'm breaking all these laws and committing all these crimes, but don't treat me like a criminal. It's like, no, that's what we do in first world nations, and that's why first world nations don't suck balls. Just so you know, that's why we don't have drug cartels taking over our places. We actually give a shit about the rule of law. I know that you're like, oh my god, that's so prejudiced. It's like, okay, I'm just saying, none of them seem to care. It's fucking important that the laws are maintained. Why don't they care? Why don't they give a shit about law?
And people who come here to make a difference, going on a scholarship to go to college, not a gang member, not participating in crime.
Not participating in crime. Coming illegally and like drink driving or doing any other silly fucking... They're not even major fucking crimes. They're crimes you really don't have to fucking commit. But if you've come here illegally, why the fuck would you do it? Why would you fucking do it? Why would you give them an excuse to find out that you're not here legally and get rid of you? Shouldn't you fucking think, my god, I'm going to be a bit more sensible about this and actually keep my fucking nose clean? Obviously they're not. But just, bitch, you don't have a fucking entitlement to be in any Western country. I'm sorry, you just don't. This is why we have a fucking proper immigration process that you should follow.
Here trying to do something, give a better life to his own child.
Yeah, it's just for him. It's not for the people in the country. It's just for him and his child. Sorry, stay in the Dominican Republic, stay in Mexico, stay where. And the thing is, right, if you stay in these countries, you can make them better. You can't make these countries better by running away from them, which is why I don't leave my country.
And yet you go on Twitter, and the justification for this, he was a criminal, and
He was.
we want our country back. And I'm so
They do. And they not. Are you entitled to their country? Am I entitled to go to China and say, hey, Chinese people, I'm allowed to enter here whether you like it or not, and I'm going to just get drunk and drive around. I know I'm at risk, but don't worry about me. By the way, I need a job too, and maybe a scholarship. That'd be great. Thank you, Chinese people. I'm entitled to this, you know. I mean, do you hear how you fucking sound? Do you, like, it sounds nuts. You'd be like, the Chinese people don't owe you anything. In fact, maybe you should get out of their country and not go around driving drunk. Well, what?
so tired of hearing people who stole this country.
Oh, fuck off. I'm tired of hearing from people like you who think they're entitled to that country. And I'm not even from that fucking country.
Saying that this is our country, I've had it up to here.
Yeah, but it is their country. It literally is. Maybe if you don't like it, you should leave.
Well, this is white supremacy at its best.
Laws are white supremacy at its best.
And white privilege. You know, that's
We're not just going to be like, well, I mean, it's a bit prejudiced. No. It's not. It's white supremacy at its best and white privilege. I mean, we're going to go the whole hog.
very obvious. I mean, he's painted out, I mean, just recently he called immigrants, 45, called immigrants animals.
You mean the M13 guys, the actual, the most psychotic, murderous gang on the face of the planet? Yeah, he called them animals. I'm sorry that this psychotic, murderous... I mean, they may have been the ones that killed the guy that this video is based on. Like... I just... Honestly, right, watching TYT is like going into a parallel universe where facts are... I mean, they don't matter, obviously. But the interpretation of things that is happening it's like being in a hall of mirrors. You can barely recognize anything that's going on.
And this poor child, for all of his, the only thing he did wrong was to drink under the influence, and he gets a criminal record.
Dude, if it was a white guy driving around drunk, endangering people's lives, wouldn't you want him to have a criminal record? The only reason you don't want this guy to have a criminal record is because he's brown. That's literally your problem, because otherwise it's white supremacy. I think brown people are capable of following the law. I actually have that high hope for them. That one day, in your opinion, they will be able to be law-abiding citizens. And people are like, well, that's racist. Like, yeah, well, she is, yeah. Like, I think brown people can follow laws.
Then the option is basically leave or leave, and he left, and then...
Yeah, get out.
Really, we've not really solved any problems, because what we really have to play with here is that white supremacy still rules, and...
I don't give a shit about white supremacy, right? Because I don't agree that what you call white supremacy is white supremacy. But I tell you what problems have been solved. The problem of an illegal immigrant drinking and driving in your country and endangering the people around. That's a problem that was solved. And I'm sorry that he lived in a shithole and that he was killed by people in this shithole. And if the... you know what, right? If the Mexican government were like, look, I think we might actually need US aid, military aid, to deal with these gangs, I'd be like, well... I think America should do it. I mean, it would be useful for everyone, wouldn't it? Getting rid of these powerful gangs that dominate the north of Mexico. Yeah, I think getting rid of them is just a win-win for everyone. But no, don't worry. Instead, we're going to whine that lawbreakers are sent back to their countries. We're not going to get anything done about it.
Five is still busy coddling every single white supremacist out there while they're busy homegrown mass shooters are killing children in schools and in churches, and at the same time we've got all this attention going towards ICE and immigrants, and I think it's not in alignment with what apparently America is all about, and yet it's...
What the fuck are you blithering about, woman? Here are two unrelated problems. I'm going to tie these together and suggest that they're basically dependent on one another. Instead of doing something about domestic terrorists, we're deporting foreign criminals. It's like, no, I think they are doing both. They are arresting domestic terrorists and deporting foreign criminals. The law enforcement in America isn't like 5 people, you know. It's probably hundreds of thousands of people.
It's what we seem to be focused on continuously. And again, more smoke screens and more smoke screens. Well, 45 gets to do whatever he wants in the background and busts out with some new policy.
Are you talking about the president?
And for anyone who thinks, okay, well, he did break the law, so that's it. He needs to be deported.
Yeah, that's me.
Can you at least acknowledge that those who seek asylum at the border are seeking asylum for legitimate purposes?
Maybe. It depends who they are and why they're seeking asylum.
Because that violence in their countries, which, by the way,
They're shithole countries. Wow, it's almost like Donald Trump was right again. You know, I figure one day I will get tired of winning. One day Donald Trump will do something that will actually really piss me off. But today is not that day, Anna.
is perpetuated by our policies.
Oh, really? Really? The Mexicans are so inferior that they can't even be responsible for their own problems. They can't even be responsible for the criminal gangs operating in their countries, in their territory with impunity. The Mexicans are that pathetic. That's a really condescending view of Mexico you have there, Anna. I'm just saying.
Is real, and they're afraid, and they want to protect themselves and their families. And how do we respond?
They should go to their government, and they should volunteer. They should. The Mexicans should be supporting their government all the more. But I imagine the Mexican government's rather corrupt, isn't it? So, I mean, hell, I might be unfairly tiring them. They might be an absolute saintly beacon of hope and prosperity in Latin America, but I get the feeling they're probably fairly corrupt, and they're being paid off by these gang cartels, which is why they get to exist. I mean, you would think that Mexico would recruit an army and then just go in and annihilate these cartels, which is what I would be demanding of my government if I was a Mexican citizen. That's what I would be fucking demanding. Just kill these people. They need to be shot. They are what they're basically doing is creating like a lawless state in the north of Mexico. That's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. No state can tolerate this. So they should go in and clear this up with guns, shooting the criminals, the lawbreakers, the terrorists, the drug dealers, the people who are doing this. That would be completely legitimate for them to do. And yet you're sat there going, well, this is the United States' fault. Is it? Is it? Is it beyond the power of the Mexicans to fix?
To them, we rip their children away from them, take their children to detention.
Someone in the chat, watch Razor Fist's vid on Mexico, great summary video. Yeah, it is. The reason they need a wall is to make sure that people stay in Mexico and clean their fucking country up.
Centers or shelters in different states, and then spend U.S. tax dollars to prosecute those very people who are seeking asylum. That's what's happening in the country right now. There was a report, right?
Anna, right, it depends if they are legitimate asylum seekers, which I'm sure many of them are, and yeah, give those people asylum, but the person that you're talking about who's deported wasn't, and then was convicted, caught drink driving in the US, which is highly irresponsible and a crime.
Right before we went to air, about how immigrants are now being put in federal prisons because these detention centers are too full.
Wow, send them fucking back then. Send them fuck back. I'm with you, Anna. I don't want them going to prisons. I want them to be sent back to their current countries of origin. You bang on the money here. That's totally unfair. Putting them in prison for just being criminals and entering a country illegally, that's way unfair. How could the American government do this? It's basically tyranny. What they should do is be sent out of the white supremacy. As brown people, we need to save them from the white supremacy by sending them to the brown supremacist countries where they come from. That's what we need to do, Anna. I didn't think you were this woke, but I'm completely with you on this.
These private prisons are too full. Federal prisons are used for the most violent criminals imaginable.
Yeah, we don't want to put these criminals in with those criminals. We should send these criminals back. I totally woke, totally with you.
People who have been convicted of violent crimes. And right now we're housing undocumented immigrants there because we don't want to give them asylum. We don't want to protect them. I mean, it's one thing to not want to allow them in the country, which I disagree with.
I blanket disagree with not allowing these people into the country. I don't know anything about these people, but keep them in. Just keep them in, let them all in. I mean, it's not like, Anna, do you realise that the US has infrastructure? Do you realise that, like, California, everyone's going on about California having just, and you're in California, having just implemented a law saying you can't shower and do your laundry in the same day. Why do you think that's there? The reason that's there is because California has been having massive water shortages, and the reason California is having massive water shortages is a combination of drought and immigration. The more, like, California's got like 65 million people in it or something like that, and it's just like, Jesus fucking Christ. And obviously being incredibly Democrat, they're letting in lots and lots of people who really shouldn't be there, and it's having an effect on the country itself. The country isn't infinite. It doesn't have infinite resources. And so a burden is being placed on those resources every fucking day with immigrants coming in. And at some point, you're going to have to be like, look, we just can't carry on, or we can't live here. There won't be enough water for us to drink. Sorry. Sorry, I've got this cold going on. It's really annoying.
But why not just send them away? Why would we need to prosecute them? Why would we take their children away and keep them in detention?
Well, I mean, I actually do agree. I wouldn't bother prosecuting them and keeping them in detention either. I would just kick them out. But I mean, maybe it's to try and discourage them from coming in future.
Who knows how long? Sometimes it's an indefinite period of time.
Yep.
I mean, it's crazy.
Didn't Coretta Scott King try to warn y'all about Jeff Sessions? Didn't she say, wasn't it her who Coretta Scott King spoke out about him when she was alive back in the day?
I have family that's worked in politics in Alabama. They knew about Jeff Sessions.
No, but what I'm saying, and when he was running, what was the name of the black woman that was like, do not, you guys got to vote against him.
Yes.
You got to make sure. And then
This is the
Donald
worst.
Trump is like, the black people, let's get him.
Jeff Sessions was the first one to say, like, Trump seems like a good guy. I'm going to get out in front. I'm going to be the first idiot in line there. He was the first, and he's the worst. The worst went first.
So he's the one who understands that mass immigration, illegal immigration, is wrong. It's not good for the country. It's not good for the country from where they come. And it's not going to solve any people's problems. It might solve the problem of that immigrant temporarily, but that's it.
Yeah, and I have to be honest, I kind of enjoy every time Trump tears them apart on Twitter. Even though he tears them apart for all the wrong reasons, I do enjoy it. Because he deserves it.
Yeah,
he's not a good person. I mean, look, Trump has he's filling the swamp. I mean, like, the swamp has not been emptied. He has picked the worst people. Like, Scott.
What do you think Hillary Clinton would have done? You know, like, everyone's surprised by this. Like, I mean, who did you expect him to put in there? It's inevitable that pieces of shit are going to end up in this place.
Pruitt to head the EPA, Jeff Sessions to head the Justice Department as Attorney General. It couldn't get worse. And
it just feels like he's picking members of a fan club. You know, you like me? You like me? Okay, yeah, sure, you can come in.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly how Trump operates. He's picking people who will be loyal to him.
So yeah, it's baseless.
Follow the Young Turks.
Okay, that was actually kind of hilarious for me. I really enjoyed it, I've got to admit. But yeah, it is all whataboutism, isn't it? All of it is whataboutism.